Hello, everyone, and welcome to Elevate Your Business. I'm Ed Jarecki, and I'm excited to take you on a journey through today's episode. For today's podcast, we are featuring John Lane, a seasoned wealth manager at Legacy Wealth Management. John grew up in a family of real estate professionals, gaining insights into industry from both professional and investor perspectives. With a BS and an MBA, he transitioned into wealth management, where he has spent nearly a decade as a certified financial planner. John specializes in helping high net worth individuals and business owners with financial planning, focusing on tax mitigation strategies that can save clients significant dollars annually. Join us as we explore John's expertise in wealth creation and strategic financial management. So now, help me welcome John Lane to the show. John, it's wonderful to see you again. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, Ed. Thank you.
Could you share a little bit more about yourself and your business with our audience?
Absolutely. I am a certified financial planner, as you had mentioned. I've been in the wealth services arena for going on 20 years. I wrote a book on how to graduate from college debt free, and it's actually through writing another book that we got introduced, writing a book called The Monster of Money. And it's really designed to help people with an understanding of financial literacy that I believe is lacking not only in our schools, but also our homes. And it's something that through that background in real estate that my family has provided for me, that I learned a lot of the principles that I then took to the private sector and the wealth management side. I've developed over the years and seen in different families and want to be able to articulate that so that kids growing up can have those same values and we get a better result from a money standpoint going forward. I know money's not everything in life, but it certainly helps to have a solid foundation on financial literacy.
So, you've been at it for a while. How do you define success today?
That definition has certainly changed over the years. When you have kids, your definition of success also changes because you want to see them succeed. And that may mean you have to take some personal sacrifices and some of the goals and such that you set for yourself. And that certainly happened for me and my family. But ultimately, success for us, again, I like to center things with the idea of that finance background around finance. It was always you're going to work hard, you're going to save hard, and through that, you're going to be able to do whatever you want in life from a financial means. That means we can go wherever we want as a couple. We can buy whatever it is that we want. And now that has transitioned. We're no longer going on the ski passes or snowboarding passes across the country. We're no longer just packing it up, going to Costa Rica for a week. It's now, well, we have time for our kids. And what I mean by that, and that was sort of taught through us through COVID a little bit, where we both got used to working from home and interacting with our respective clientele. That allowed us the freedom to then really delve into our children's lives in an extracurricular. And with that, success for me is making sure that all three of my kids are able to do all of the activities that they would want to do in a day and still live an enjoyable, fun childhood.
And you mentioned the fact that your definition has evolved. Where did it start at?
It was pretty basic. Growing up, it was my goal to graduate college debt free and stay in that debt free mindset. Uh, uh, when I work with clients, it's not uncommon for me to sit down with doctors, attorneys, business folk, or teachers, and they have massive six-figure debt loads that they're trying to pay off. And it doesn't matter their salary. Everybody thinks that a doctor making $500,000 to $1 million a year is living the high life. The truth of the matter is they also typically have $400,000 to $600,000 in student loan debt, and they want to live in the best areas of whatever city that they're in across the United States, which is a high cost of living. So you're talking about your $2 or $3 million homes with a mortgage of usually a 1.5 to 2 million bucks. That's a lot of debt load that they have to service, and their high income puts them in the highest tax bracket. So you take that plus the debt, they're actually living paycheck to paycheck, believe it or not, most of the time. There are exceptions; those are the great ones to work with. But ultimately, having a handle on debt is really the pinnacle of being financially free in the United States. And that's something that I went into college with, Cal State East Bay, which is a small state school in California. It was not my first choice. It was actually my 11th choice. The other 10 were private schools, and I learned that they're not going to give it to me for free. I think the most that I had was a 50% merit-based scholarship, but that's still, again, we're talking 21 years ago. We're talking $40,000 a year to go to a private school. So they're going to give me $20,000 a year. Well, I didn't have $20,000 a year to go. So I went to the state school that costs $10,000 a year to go. And I tucked it up and went there for 4 years. And that ended up being 7 because I got my MBA as well. But with both of those graduating debt free, set me on a path where I can actually pursue financial planning, which, much like real estate, is heavily dependent on sales. And there's no, in general speak, there's no set salary or anything. So it's all on your own efforts. But that's hard to do if you have $2,000 a month of debt that you have to pay off.
No doubt about that. And it sounds like you've had a pretty incredible journey, including having a lot of fun and your trips to Costa Rica, in your snowboarding adventures, etc. But those journeys are also, especially to get where you're at today, they're wrought with challenges. What are one or two of those key challenges and the lessons learned to pass along to our audience?
So I would say one of the biggest challenges as far as career growth is understand where you are in your career path and not being afraid to change and to get more specific on what you want to do long term. I find that either the clients or with myself, it's not taking everybody as a client, which unfortunately I got into financial services on more of an altruistic path. I want to be able to help everybody save $5,000 a year and put it into a Roth. The fact of the matter is there comes a lot of self-discipline that has to come. It's not just the coaches, the financial advisor. I can tell people to save $500 a month all day, every day. They ultimately have to do that. And to try to create a career around that is a hard thing to do. And that's why narrowing that path, which is hard, it's telling friends and family that don't necessarily have the means or the wherewithal to save, that they're not a fit for me as a client. That's a hard thing to do. But ultimately, that's allowed me to scale my business where I can, to the people that I need to talk to in order to put food on the table for my family.
You work with people with incredible salaries, so they already have a foundation for building wealth. Their choices put them in positions that maybe they don't have the cash flow to enjoy that money as much as they otherwise could. But at the same time, what I'd say for most people out there, it's starting someplace. As I've tried to guide my children, as I would guide anybody, if it's $25 a month, start there, stay disciplined, and don't touch it. Get your debt paid off, stay out of debt, and put something away. So even if you can't afford it, what are you going to do? Well, I'll pick on my daughter a little bit. She loves Starbucks and she loves the pink drinks that they have.
Oh, yeah.
So, all right. So, instead of having 2 or 3 of those a week, go to 1 a week and make it celebratory so that you got through the week, and take the dollars that you're spending on those other pink drinks and stick that in an account that you don't have easy access to. Don't give yourself a debit card pin to go with it so you can grab the money out of it. Keep it there, save it there, don't touch it. And I'll even go so far as to say, put money in those deep reserves that is not touchable, and have another savings account that's available for when you do have emergencies and stuff like that, or family vacations or whatever. So at any rate, it's just kind of closing that gap that you're focusing on these people with incredible incomes, but most people out there don't have that, but need to start somewhere if they want the type of life they really.
I had a client that put it a different way pretty succinctly, and I've used it ever since, is he goes, so you're telling me that I need to pay my future self?
That's right.
I said, absolutely. If you want to have this life 40 years from now or 30 years from now, you got to pay your future self. And when we get to 65 or 70 or 75, and the government says, or the corporations say, we no longer need your services here, and you're forced out, you want to have a nest egg that you can live a comfortable life. And that takes sacrifice today. And that's ultimately what the financial services arena has done. And I know you're going to get to this, so I might jump the gun just a little bit here. But technology has helped that conversation along greatly over the last 10 years. We saw it with the accounting with TurboTax, where accountants themselves have narrowed down to be able to actually providing tax planning to people and allowing TurboTax and H&R Block that just go there, pay whatever the 25, $50, $100 to get your tax prep done there. It's going to be the cheapest, most efficient way for you to do it. That's going to serve 80% of America. That's what technology is starting to do in the financial services arena as well as the education from books like Monster of Money and all that other good stuff. All of that allows a majority of people can start to get that education immediately. They can open up a Robinhood, Roth IRA in about 5 minutes or less. And that can be the baseline for their financial future.
Any other lessons learned that you'd like to pass along to our audience?
Don't be afraid to make mistakes in investing. Not every investment is a winner. We see that quite often now in the last, call it 10 years with the cryptocurrency craze with the world, with Bitcoin and a few of the other altcoins. It's quite easy to get wrapped up into that quick money. Understanding that you can invest in those sort of things, but when there's losses, cut the losses. Don't be afraid to turn and pivot. That's an important piece with all investing. We see it with real estate, we see it in tech, and we see it in career choices. And it's okay if you're doing it for the right reasons to cut your losses.
So the investment strategies seem to have changed quite a bit over time, and it moved from buy based on fundamentals, solid fundamentals, continued growth, strong companies. And then it moved as you moved into the late 90s, early 2000s. You've got this tech craze, this internet business boom, and all of the fundamentals kind of went out the window. And then what we've seen since is periods of time where it's very similar. The next craze kind of comes out and the fundamentals seem to go out the door. And there's still these other larger companies, Apple, et cetera, that continue to kind of play well in the overall market. Is there such a thing as long-term investing anymore where you can kind of get it, set it, and leave it?
So I will put the little asterisk on the forthcoming answer to that question is, although I am a financial advisor, I'm not your financial advisor. So with that in mind, I think that the long-term strategies still do exist. If we look at, call it one of the longest term investments out there, gold. Just look at what that's doing more recently. It's reaching all-time highs. And that speaks, I think, to the stray away from the fundamentals, not just on an individual level, but also on a government level. Right? We're $36 trillion in debt, and that's not including Social Security and other programs like that. That's an incredible number that strays away from the fundamentals of what governance should be, where we should be able to balance a budget. And I think through that government spending that has happened over the last 20 years, and it's not a political statement, there was Republicans and Democrats that have been responsible for that spending. They're spending that money into the economy in multitude of ways, which has increased the value of everything from real estate to commodities to S&P and Russell 2000 stocks. Everything has gone up drastically, but with that, the falls have been more dramatic as well. And we saw that in 2000, we saw that in 2007, again in 2017, 2020, and 2022. So it's happening more frequently. The ups and the downs. And that volatility is what scares people. But I think to get back to your question, the fundamentals still are important. Investing in commodities, real estate, and good companies will always be here because it's those companies, that real estate, and those commodities, which, rare earth metals are very important. If we look at how that relates to technology, just look at what Tesla has to do to build their car or what SpaceX has to do to put those satellites up. It's rare earth metals that are rare that have to be used. So cobalt, gold, silver, platinum, palladium, oil is another one that gets tossed in there as well, is an important factor and will be an important factor for the continued growth of the world's economies. So if we're not investing into either the commodity itself or the companies backing those commodities, so the mining companies and such, that's where value, I think, will still reside for years to come, especially as China and India continue to grow their respective economies to mirror or even in some cases surpass the United States dominance in the area.
Yeah, we could probably go on this subject for quite a period of time, so I'm
Oh,
going to
yes.
move us
Yes.
a little bit down the path into innovation one more time. And you've already started to touch on this, but I guess my question more specific to what you do and what people that are interested in growing their wealth are, what are some of the tools that they can use out there that can provide a comprehensive way to manage what they're doing and how they're doing it, their portfolio?
Yeah, so I'm going to start with an easy one just because I use it in different walks of life pretty much every week, and that's YouTube, right? If we look at how to fix something, we used to be able to go to the Home Depot shop. You remember this, where you would go and they teach you how to put flooring in or what have you. Now, there's literally 100 channels on YouTube that will do that in 3 minutes time slots. And that's true on financial services as well. So the first stop that I highly recommend for everybody is just Google it or utilize YouTube, which I think is owned by Google. So just basically Google it. And that will be the start of the education. From there, I mentioned a couple of platforms that have made it easier to invest. Off the top of my head, Charles Schwab, Robinhood, Fidelity, TD Ameritrade, which is now Charles Schwab. But all of those platforms offer great initial account setups where it can be done in less than 5 minutes to create an account. From there, as far as education is concerned on individual companies, again, I would go back to information at the tip of our fingertips with the internet. That is and will be something that continues to grow. AI has been a tremendous value add to that. Again, you go into Google and you type in something, and then the first response is an AI response that really does get 80 or 90% of the way there to answering whatever question that is. And then from there, you can delve down. But all of those tools are readily available. It's not rocket scientists. Financial services and financial literacy is not rocket science. This is very simple steps with financial services. It's you got to save, you got to stay out of debt, you have to invest, and you got to protect yourself. If you do those four things, you will be financially literate and financially successful over a long period of time. It's as simple as that. It's always been that way. That this is nothing new. This literally will date back to there's books that I've read, The Greatest Salesman in the World, The Gift of Akbar. There's many books that have been written 100, 200 years ago that speak to the exact same principles. So the principles don't change. How we interpret them and implement them might change a little bit, but everything is right there at our fingertips and we can do it.
We've got incredible tools today that they didn't have 200 years ago to be able to understand, to teach ourselves, and then to apply those principles in a number of different forms. Outstanding.
Yes.
Final takeaways for our audience. If you could offer one thing to our audience that they really must consider as part of their life and business success, what would that be?
Don't think of money as the root of all evil. Don't be afraid to ask questions regarding money to the people that you think are successful or not successful. They'll each offer a different perspective. Money is something that it's much like a commodity. It's there. It's neither evil nor good, but it does facilitate our ability to have some of the nicer things in life. It's hard to do it without money. And that is a hard reality. But in my opinion, socialism doesn't work. And even if you look at the socialist countries, guess what? The top 10% of the people have all the money. So they're happy because they created a system that benefits them and allows them to keep all the money. So if we have that mindset of it's not evil, it's not good, it's just a commodity that I could learn how to either attract it or keep it, if you do that over a long period of time, I'm not saying that you need to be a multimillionaire to be happy. I'm just saying that having no debt, money in the bank account is going to feel a lot better than the reverse of that.
Yeah. It allows us to live the life we want to live, regardless of
Yes,
what that looks like. Outstanding. Thank you for that.
absolutely.
I want to thank you for joining us today. We hope you found John's insights invaluable. Before we wrap up, we'd love to hear from you. What are some of the biggest challenges you faced in managing your wealth? And how do you think strategic tax planning could help address them? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe for more expert advice and discussions in future episodes. Until next time, stay resilient, stay innovative, and have a wonderful day, everyone.